how would you capitalize on Folsom's nationally and locally significant historic sites?
There's two important pieces to that. There's the preservation and the appreciation. And there's, we just had a little discussion about the level of government involvement in that. And I think the best role that this city council can play is to make sure that those groups, the Heritage Preservation League, the Folsom Historical Society, the Friends of the Powerhouse, the Rail Association, there's probably 10 or 15 of them. The Muir Foundation is another one that comes to mind, that all have pockets of energy that are really things that we need to make sure as a council are appropriately encouraged and seated in their efforts. We have kind of a unique situation. In fact, a good example is this building we're sitting in right now. It's for sale. Is anybody interested in buying it? But we need to figure out a way to save this. It doesn't have a lot of appropriate use for this neighborhood. You know, if somebody wanted to turn this into a restaurant, it's not going to happen. So the usage limitations can really tie us into knots. But we as a council need to understand what are our flexibilities in making sure that we can get the biggest bang for the buck. Our past and Folsom is so unique and cherished by, there's nobody in this community that does not understand that. And I think it's the reason a lot of us really get energized about the identity of Folsom. And it's rigorously defended by myself. And we have pieces. It takes a lot of guts to make some of these decisions. This Sutter Street revitalization, as you all know, was difficult in many ways. Took a lot of time. I see a few people in the audience that were instrumental in getting that push to the finish line. But a lot of great care needs to be taken moving along those lines. So,
the Folsom obviously has a great history, and I think it's up to us to keep that history going forwards for ourselves, and also to teach the younger generations about the value of the historical sites that we have. As many of you know, I know there's probably been tussle between development and between preservation of the historical sites, and it also goes back to the level of funding that we have available to keep some of these sites active or even in a safe state to be able to preserve. So I think I would want the community to be a lot more, I guess their voice to be heard in terms of, if there's something that comes up, what do the residents think about, do we keep this? Let's have the facts out there, let's have the research out there that says, okay, how is this of importance to us? How is this of value to us? What will it take to keep it a historic site? What is the potential for something to happen to it in terms of, development or tearing down or sale? And how will we move forward on it? I think it's important to have the feedback of residents before the city council makes any decisions that could impact the future of our city, especially in reference to our past. Thank you.
I love history. I think it's an important part of our life. I think that we need to do everything necessary to preserve that historic parts of Folsom. Have strong values when it comes to the history of not just Folsom, but this country. And, it's something that I try to teach my kids about.
There's always been a tussle between the HPL folks and the tourism folks that tourism does not play up the historic aspect of the community as much as they should. But just by way of example, some of the things that have happened recently, Philip was involved in the rail fair that just took place, and that was very, very successful. I was out there for a short while. I had some other events I had to go to that day. I understand that the FESTA was attended, Antique Evaluation Day that's run by the Historical Society. There's a long list of things that have been done to attract people. The Tourism Bureau, because of the history of Folsom and the lore of Folsom Prison, which is bigger to people outside the area than you might think, we attracted a delegation from Dublin, Ireland a couple of years ago. I was at a meeting last night, again, largely because of the history in the region. We are going to be having the International World Championships for Segway Polo next year. So, to say that the city's not doing a lot to bring people into town, talk to me after this forum, talk to Marianne at the Chamber, talk to the folks at HPL. there's a lot more going on to make those things happen than I think people realize, and we're being fairly successful at it, so.
The question was, capitalization of our resources, and I think pretty much Carrie touched on a lot of stuff we're doing. It goes back to where I like to say that, we can't always drag you kicking and screaming to do things. And there seems to be a misnomer, at least with one candidate up here, quite frankly, that doesn't think we do public participation. My challenge back to that person is, where you been? All the people in this room know how many years, and I'll thank Jeff, as I do regularly, for him bringing the community, not just the Sutter Street and Historical Residents Association together, but the community together to finally finish the revitalization of Sutter Street. Loretta, wherever she's hiding down there, she spent many, many years, and we started when I was a planning commissioner in '93 on the Railroad Black Master Plan, and that went through several iterations and probably close to 15 years before we were able to find a plan that worked financially, more importantly, sustainability. Many, many, many hours, many, many meetings, many, many, many workshops. The one thing that I said on Saturday, Folsom doesn't move fast on anything, but it's by design, because we invite the public in, we invite the community in, they tell us what works for them, and then we have to bring people like Jeff to put all the parts together so we can come to a consensus, because we only have one time to do it right. Capitalize on our resources, exactly one of the items that Folsom Tourism Bureau works on, exactly one of the items that the Fed Corp works on, and the city and the chamber all partner together. We don't do any one segment, we capitalize on all of them. And within some restrictions like the powerhouse, Lake Natoma, where the state controls, unfortunately, I'll give you my opinions later off camera. There's a lot of things that we could do, and the things we can do, I think we do very good at it. And we invite the public in, and they're very much a participant, and what we've created has been with the community.